been a while since I've done this, so let's see how it goes. We gather here today to discuss the new HBO Now series known as Velma. This is a new, updated version for modern audiences of the classic Scooby Doo shows. There's a ton of them, all sorts, cartoons. There's even real live action movies and such. But this one was made for 2023. And this show is annoying. I'm just going to get into it. 12 seconds in, and it's already full on feminist mode. She goes in to say Velma, who is the main character in this version of Scooby Doo, which is fine. She goes on to say about how origin stories are normally about a handsome dude attempting to gain more power and becoming more powerful, or about a hot chick and how she becomes crazy. I felt that this latter part was about maybe a dig on Sarah Connor from the Terminator, because, she ended up in the mental ward when she was arrested and judged as clinically insane, when actually she wasn't losing her mind. She hadn't gone crazy. She was trying to, save the world. And then maybe I thought it was about Beatrix Kiddo from Kill Bill, where an assassin had been left for dead by another group of assassins, and she went after revenge. And later to find out she was also looking to get her kid back. But she went out for revenge against other assassins, acting in the only way that she would have known as an assassin. So I don't think that that's really insanity, but whatever. So she goes on to explain about how this is how Velma actually put together the Scooby Doo crew, Mystery Inc., whatever you want to call them, and not Fred and his weird sex fan. So after this very brief introduction to Velma, we open up and we're in the locker room, and I saw, very much to my surprise, the funniest thing of the episode right away. And it was two cockroaches having sex. I thought it was hilarious. I got a chuckle. And then it goes into the shower scene that you see from the trailer. And that's something that I want to discuss. There's a lot of people out there talking about how this is over-sexualization of children and those kinds of arguments. And then there's the other side where like, well, it's animated or whatever. And what I have to say about that is, when it comes to the over-sexualization of children, and in this case, high school students, we have no idea what year, none of that matters. But where were you when, say, all the movies like American Pie and Not Another Teen Movie came out, where we technically had adults who were in these movies that were in full nudity, but they were being portrayed as high school students? So I think there's a conversation to be had there. As far as the Scooby Doo thing goes, I don't think it's nearly as egregious as, say, Big Mouth. I think Big Mouth is absolutely horrendous. So that's what I have to say about that. In this scene, however, we get the first interaction of Daphne and Velma. And so Daphne is in the middle of kicking this other girl's ass. They're talking about how sex sells and how all you need is a good story and all this stuff. A very, very meta, self-aware type garbage, which I actually feel ruins this show. We'll get into that later. But this first interaction between Velma and Daphne is Velma beating the crap out of Daphne with a field hockey stick. She just walks up and whacks her a good one and knocks her into the lockers for like no apparent reason. You could say it was maybe to save the other girl's life, but Velma doesn't like that girl either. She doesn't like any of these girls. And then they have an exchange. What we can come to the conclusion of is both Velma and Daphne are not great people. they're for lack of a better term, kind of bitchy. So the next scene is when so a dead body falls out of a locker, and the next scene, Velma's being interviewed by the police because the dead body was in her locker, and she's suspect number one. Um, we find out that these police officers, these two women police officers that are interrogating Velma, are Daphne's adopted gay mothers, whatever. And then they also showed like how Velma and Daphne used to be best friends. So you can kind of understand that heated exchange. After the scene with the cops, we get our first interaction with Velma and Fred. Velma thinks Fred is hot, and Fred is completely unaware of Velma, even though he cheats off of her in Spanish class. And this is what I almost called her Mindy. This is what Velma is saying, that Fred cheats off of her because he thinks she is Mexican. I thought this was humorous, but when you watch the show and watch how this interaction happens, the timing of the dialogue and everything doesn't really leave room for a joke. So you're not sure if she's just trying to be, well, yeah, you're just racist, or if it was actually a wisecrack. Um, and that's part of the problem with the show, is that the timing is so off. It's so fast. It's like Vince Vaughn and Matthew McConaughey type thing, but those two are able to actually work together, whereas these people can't work together at all. They're too busy to try and make a point or make a joke. As a matter of fact, the first time I watched this, I was kind of reminded of um Thor Love and Thunder. When I left Thor Love and Thunder, I thought I was just walking out of a movie that was full of one-liners and just constantly trying to be witty. And that's exactly what this show is. This show thinks it's super smart, but yet it also thinks that its audience is super dumb. And so it uses this kind of meta way to explain their jokes. And it just makes the show annoying. So we get Fred. Fred is pathetic. He is presented as a, so he's an older teenager, but yet he has not hit puberty yet, and he's kind of a baby. It was at this point in my third viewing of this that I had decided I just don't care anymore. The show is so self absorbed, just like the characters that they're writing, that the humor is lost everywhere. So, just to cover the point, Norville, aka Not Shaggy, has some similarities to the original Shaggy in kind of like a cowardice hesitant, but they definitely embellish on that, which is a good idea. To kind of like over, if you're going to redo something, like exaggerate character traits, and especially please exaggerate all the characters' flaws. We don't get that in any other character. But Norville is kind of a wimp, just like Shaggy in previous versions of Scooby Doo. Um, However, so like in the old versions, every once in a while Shaggy would come through, right? Well, this time when Shaggy tries to like step out of his cowardice, he is ridiculed and emasculated and just made fun of. There's a point where he's confessing his love to Velma, and in a means to like try and help her snap out of one of her like weird vision things that she gets because she's haunted by the disappearance of her mother. Yes, I know I'm skipping a lot of story points, but I just don't care about this show anymore. Interesting news just broke free, and I'll see if I can add that for the next episode. So we got Shaggy, or not Shaggy, and like I didn't hate him. I kind of liked that he did the whole YouTube snack reviewer thing, but definitely just not respected at all. I feel the show has some potential. If they were to take out all the meta crap, strip it of the Scooby Doo thing, and make it more of like an obvious Scooby Doo spoof, Don't use when you use previous IP like Scooby Doo, and all those things, and if you don't remain at least somewhat loyal to the original uh content, then you're, you've written a different show. So take out the Scooby Doo name, change the characters, change them up all you want, make it a Scooby Doo spoof. It's been done before. Just make a better version. Get rid of this meta crap, and also quit being so damn full of yourself, so that where you have to explain your incredibly witty jokes to your dumbass audience. Also, try not to maybe fit in every single one of your social platitudes in a 25-minute episode. That's part of the timing problem is you feel like you've got your jokes, and then you got to make sure you make these points, these social points, to prove whatever the hell it is you're trying to prove at that particular moment about whatever social topic you want to talk about. If you remove this, if you do these things, you might actually have a show where people would find funny and would tell their friends to go and watch, and you would find the success you were looking for. This isn't a Scooby Doo show. The characters don't have to be exactly like previous versions, but some similarities are nice. I think Norville was close, but Fred is definitely nowhere near it. And you know what? You could have played up to Fred, Fred actually acting macho and not like a psycho. Fred acting, maybe overcompensating his lack of making it to puberty at the age of 16 or 17, however old he's supposed to be in this. That could have been pretty good. And then like slowly roll out and realize his insecurities are there, and you've got something to build off of. Daphne is a drug dealer because she's trying to keep it real with her rich friends, because there's another social platitude about where they get all meta, talking about how, well, the only reason white people sell drugs is to save their sick kid or to do all these other things to help out some situation. And then people of color sell drugs to stick in with the rich crowd. And so that's how we found out why Daphne was the Candyman. Anyway, it's only been 2 episodes. I believe they're doing 2 episodes a week from now through the middle of February. So I think we get like another 8 episodes, so 10, maybe 12 more shows. So that leaves plenty of room for character development. Fine. They could eventually end up with likable characters, but that won't remove the annoying, self-flating aspects of this show where they just think they're so smart. When they had Velma swear, where she was in court and they had the Bible, and she slides a DVD of Grey's Anatomy on the top of it and swears on Grey's Anatomy as opposed to the Bible, like, because she's so intellectually advanced that she doesn't need the Bible, but yet she isn't smart enough to do her own math homework, which she just has Norville email her the answers for. Not Velma. I'll probably put the show on, especially with the stuff that came out recently here. I'm gonna grab a screenshot of this, but apparently they might be reducing Scooby Doo with a black woman by the name of Scooby, but spelt with an I. And I guess she was in the trailer as well. I'll see if I can find that, and I'll throw that up here. But what I'm more curious to see is the reactions to the ratings, and how, if the show actually builds, if it keeps an audience, or if it just completely disappears. Because I believe last night HBO came out and announced that it's the most watched release on HBO Now. I keep wanting to call it HBO Go, but it's HBO Now. It's the biggest release on HBO Now ever. No idea what those numbers are. Sure, I'll accept it. Let's see where it goes from here. I apologize for being a little bit all over the place. That will get better over time as I sit here and do this more like I used to. If you like what you saw, please leave a like, subscribe. That would be great. And also, if you're interested, I am now doing a show on Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern over at my buddy's channel known as Wookie Be Bad. I'll have a link down in the description. So if you're interested, please check that out. And until next time, have a good one.